Hello everybody, my name is Terry Linch. I'm with Oregon Ufology. I found myself searching for a passageway one day, and that passageway leads right across the complete section of the Cascades, which I'm sitting in front of at the moment on top of Planet Peak. I want to make sure that everybody sees the type of things that we find in the process of research for ufology. I have located a couple that's sitting here on the top of Paulina Peak. She's facing south. He's facing north. Both of them are elongated skull. Just like a gray. Hi, my name is Terry Linch. I'm with Oregon Ufology. In the process of my research, I found this location as I was searching through satellite imagery, and I ended up locating this thing that I like to call the Cascadia Guide. All right, it's a male and female with elongated skulls. This thing has been here, I'm going to say, for probably 5,000 to 6,000 years. Trying to make sure that we get a good, accurate, detailed thing of this report of this area. These are the guides, Cascadia Guides. And that right there is Diamond Peak off to the side, and that is also, if you look very close, you will see that it's also Crater Lake. You see the whole top blue out. I'm going to get back up here fishing to the sky because I'm after UFOs.
But when you get to the mountains, what's going on here within the mountains is they're taking and they're using the Rosen Bridge. The mountains seems to be the home of these things. The harder, the more complicated it is to get to, that's where you're going to be finding these things, where it's almost impossible for people to walk around. If you're in a jagged cliff area of any mountain or volcano, any rifts that are really hard to walk through, places where we're not going to be, that's where they are. And they go into the earth. They live inside the earth. They are definitely above us in the sky. And we're the thing in the middle. We live in the middle of this whole setting. No matter where you're at on the planet, you're in the middle. Oh, there's some good pictures of the flow here. Yeah, I got some pretty good pictures of this flow. The big flow up on top of Paulina. I can't wait to analyze some of the film that you took up on top of Paulina Peak to see what kind of things were passing by us while we're up there. That's going to be interesting to see with your camera because it's a little more technical than mine. You can shoot in faster speeds than me with your Sony. I'm really curious to what happens when Chris Hamall gets a hold of that footage and starts to show us what what he sees. It seems like every time I take any kind of video footage on top of Paulina Peak, Mr. Hamall in Australia seems to find everything that comes out of the sky. I'm really looking forward to him getting hold of what research and seeing what he's done with mine. I want to see his research. And now that we've had a camera of the caliber that Alien Strand has brought, LEDZ Entertainment has brought up to this area, the possibilities are just limitless on this. You guys have definitely shown me that I need more than Nikon. I need some Sony. My goal is the P1000. It's a 3,000 millimeter camera. I'll be going back up to the top of Paulina Peak with that at some point, and I will be aiming towards Mount Shasta so I can actually see what's coming out of the mountain from Mount Shasta. I have this long run that I'll be able to track, and it's a couple 100 miles, but I'll be able to track with the P1000 from Mount Shasta all the way along the Cascade line that goes all the way out to Mount Adams in Washington State. This one is the one that I got the Tic Tac craft with. It was passing overhead. I had it this focused in on a jet that was passing by with a chemtrail behind it. I use jets with chemtrails as a beacon. It's a place for me to focus. Once I focus in on that, the craft will pass. You don't sit here and look around like this for the craft. What you do is you set in one spot. You don't move from that spot. Tripods are king with these things. Every one of us are going to have full communication up on top of the mountain. We're using Motorola handhelds. I've got 3 of them. Jonathan has 2 himself. Jonathan's are all this kind. His are a little lower than mine, but we've got we all have the exact same radios, so we can stay in contact because we are going to be on the top of a mountain 8,000 feet up in the middle of the wilderness. Okay, so here's part of the plan. Is we're gonna go ahead and go down to first we'll go up to the top of Paulina Peak. We're gonna go up to the Cascadia Guides. A little bit later, we're going to go down to Hole in the Ground, and we're gonna look at a mile-wide crater in the earth of Central Oregon. This is right on the edge of Central Oregon, heading towards Eastern Oregon, and to what we refer to as the Oregon Outback. We'll be looking directly at Paulina Peak from the east side of Paulina Peak. This is a location where almost every time I go there to film, I end up getting craft flying over the top of it. They usually move pretty fast. When the craft move over this, they're moving at 22 miles a second, just about as fast as a blink drone.
I guess the last couple of years been hanging out with Terry and kind of giving him a little bit of wilderness backup, I guess you could copy, and talk about, we go out, we hit the woods, we hit the mountains. I've always made it a goal to find the top of every butte that I find out here. So that's kind of what we've done. And when me and Terry met, he kind of chipped right to the same thing. Let's go to the top of buttes because I could use that as a vantage point. I like it just because it's a beautiful scene out here. But, Terry kind of strung me onto that next side, that next piece of what we're investigating and watching the skies. So I guess my ultimate job is to get Terry where he needs to be, get him the best views on the sky, and watch his back. For the most part, we are in the wilderness. We are out in the great Oregon Outback here. So, we got a little bit of wildlife to worry about. Got to keep everybody safe, on their toes.
Oh, hell yeah. I love going out, just being in the woods. Most of the time, like he said, I just go out, ride around. I try to memorize each trail just by the way it looks, the way it goes, where it ends up, how I get there. But it's a lot of fun, especially with a lot of people. If I go out with like a group, me and my dad go out and some other people, it's always a real blast just to go out and have some fun. I remember how you did that.
Working, sir.
That's what you get.
You got that too.
Huh?
No, go ahead. What's that?
Again, why are we armed?
So I always take everything Oregon Outback all the same. It's all wilderness, it's all wild animals. So I'm not expecting to go out there and draw arms on people and such, but I do not go out in our wilderness without some kind of a sidearm for protection.
And this was the first time this Cascadia Guides has ever been documented. We are the very first people to actually document this. We've looked everywhere. There's nobody has ever documented it. Maybe an airplane flew over and took a picture. Maybe a hiker stumbled upon it at some point, but you don't see anything.
You just stay to the side so you don't feel like you're gonna fall off. I'm a little more mountain goaty, so I'll get out here. Okay, well this right here gives you a shot right down into the volcano itself. You're literally looking here at the side of the mountain that blew out. This giant crater here, there's two lakes here. There's Paulina Lake and East Lake. This area is bigger than Crater Lake by far. This volcano is the largest volcano in the Cascade Mountain Range. The last time this volcano erupted was 6,000 years ago. This is a very short period of time that this volcano has been dormant. As a matter of fact, it's not dormant. We're starting to have earthquakes underneath this volcano. USGS just reported one 2 weeks ago. Yep, this is a caldera. What we're looking into is a big caldera. I'm standing on the edge of the volcano. Sheer cliff right here. Drops down about 1,000 feet. Various different types of wildlife up through here. Last time I was up and at the Cascadia Guides, I physically seen a bear walking up that. There's a hill over here to the side of us, and I saw it kind of going up the side of that, and as soon as I saw the direction it was going, I went the other way. That's just a wise thing to do. They don't like being pet. Just like the buffalo in Yellowstone, you don't pet them.
So I'm Jonathan Mitchell with Oregon Ufology, and we're here at the top of Paulina Peak, just kind of sharing some stories about what we see wintertime up here. Behind Terry here is an elevation sign, kind of a good marker there. The snow is usually at or above that when we're midwinter. So really cool area to be up here summer and winter to ride to the top here. We were sharing a story. We watched a guy ride this crater with a snowmobile out along the edge here. Pretty sketchy look. This is a pretty steep bowl. So seen some pretty cool adventures up here, and hope to see some more as we proceed down the trail and down the mountain into the bowl.
got to be the next pier down. You know what it's like when you hide a rock in a bunch of rock? Yeah. There you go. See, Native Americans would see that type of thing, and to them, they would say, the last step's a doozy. There it is. Jinga. Those things will stand there for like ever, even with the wind. It's really weird how that works. There it is. Right on. Next earthquake, it's a goner though.
Next breeze of wind.
That's pretty cool. Good balancing, John. That's cool. That's a nice little build.
Ooh, that actually looks pretty tall from
It
back
does.
here.
It looks really neat when you've got the lava flow or the obsidian flow behind it. You know? That's a really cool contrast there. Nice work. Okay. Come on, guys, follow me to the Cascadia Guides. We're here. They're right here. There they are.
Look at
She's
that.
facing north, she's facing south. Did he share the... These are the Cascadia Guides. I have video footage of two craft dropping straight out of the sky, and they're coming along, and I have them moving up along the ridge line like this, up high, and then they drop back down into this V, which is a clear view of the Cascadia Guides. When these craft did this, one of the craft turned up on end, and it threw out a light indicating that the craft could see this. And that's what let me know that this right here was something from them. Somebody's gonna try and put their hand up and say, I did this. If you did this, then you were also in that craft that turned up on end and signified that you were turning here. Those craft were slowed down. They were moving pretty close to 22 miles a second. The speed of these craft are so hard to see sometimes. You just don't even realize it. I mean, literally, they could be passing over the top of my head within feet, and I wouldn't know it was there. Neither would you. As these things pass us, sometimes you feel like you're being watched or something like that. That's why you're feeling that. These things move so fast, and they hide from us using this speed and that technique. It doesn't matter how big it is or how small it is. You could move an aircraft carrier at 22 miles a second, and you won't see it.
Let's go here, Terry, real quick. Back up just a little bit. We can kind of guesswork here. Top. That kind of give us overall.
The male subject, from head to toe and sitting position, is 33 feet. The female subject, from cranium to foot and sitting position, is right at 28 feet. I'm also giving you a reading from head to hand. This is just a little bit off, but north.
38 feet.
North is.
We got 28.
Exactly this way.
I'm curious what this means.
Okay, so on the Cascadia Guides, I'm extremely grateful that I ended up meeting an expert by the name of Ken Wells Jr. He goes by KB Wells Jr. He's an author. He's written several books on just this subject. I can't wait to find out what his analysis is. He's waiting to see what my measurements are and to get back to him with that. He was pretty amazed with this, and I can't wait till we get his 2 cents, because this is definitely an ancient thing.
My name is Ken Wells. I'm an author, researcher, and I've been looking at petroglyphs and pictographs, rock art, along the Southwest for over 20 years. My journey first started, really, with how all journeys start, which is with the shift in consciousness. It was 9 Mile Canyon in Utah, which is a beautiful drive with rock art on both sides of the road. And rock art just speaks to you. It changes you. I don't know that there's one person that I've ever come across that's ever not been changed. Not by looking at a book necessarily, but by encountering, searching, finding rock art and having it speak to you. There's a lot of different reasons for this, and there's all different types of rock art around the world. Ancient Egypt, Göbekli Tepe, Australia, Italy, Spain, cave art, it's everywhere. And these images, these symbols, they have the power to bypass our usual channels of understanding and meaning and speak directly to consciousness. And that's where my journey started. That's where Terry's journey started. But really, in fact, that's where all journeys start, is where you have an expansion of consciousness, a trigger. And that takes you to places you would never, ever imagine you would go. We lived in a very small town in the Sierra Nevada mountains near Yosemite. And that's where some of the early visitations from what some call extraterrestrials began. It journeyed through electronics, through computers, through psychic seminaries, ghost hunting adventures, various kinds of explorations in technology, such as free energy and healing, like Rife machines, Lakowski coils, and then eventually into rock art, symbology, Moldavite. Semiotics is a study of how meaning is generated in the mind. But when you're looking at symbols, rock art, or you're touching something that brings symbols to your mind, like Moldavite, meaning is derived directly from consciousness. It's not what you've learned. It's not what you've been told. It's what your consciousness perceives. And that's a whole different deal. That's exactly what I think happened with Terry, right? When he had his encounter, his mind was ready for a change. His body, maybe not so much, but his mind was ready for a change. And then he came across rock art and petroglyphs, and they started to speak to him in different ways. It happens to a lot.
My thoughts on the geoglyph, totally stoked. I think we've got a lot of information here. We've got a good amount of measurements, angles. I'd like to get home, draw this out, map it out, see if we get some correlation, maybe some transferable information onto a map or a constellation. We'll see where it points and where it leads.
The heads are facing directly towards the Grand Tetons over in Wyoming. We have a friend that's part of this endeavor. She's a ufologist named Shana Gilmer out of Twin Falls, Idaho. And she's just south of the, what they call Craters of the Moon, Idaho. Anytime you see lava flows, you're gonna find these craft. They like to go in and out of them. It's part of how they get in and out of the earth. So anyway, she has a large majority of craft circling her area, and they give her a nightly visit in the Idaho Falls area. She's on the other end of the Cascadia Passage, and she's a welcome part to share her stuff inside of the middle, because she is in the middle. I see something here that looks like somebody broke this rock, fractured it. It was a fracture. I was just wondering what would be underneath it.
So this kind of, you said, resembles a...
It looks to me like it resembles a spear, like one of the round craft. I'm going to assume this is what this is, because it's definitely not a sleeping circle. There's too many rocks in the middle of this. This represents something, and it's actually within eyesight of the Cascadia Guides. Actually, kind of surprised that this is here. I didn't notice this last time I came in, and I hadn't paid attention to it on satellite imagery.
Hey, no, I flew the drone pretty high. I might have been able to grab that on the drone, and we could probably see if Yeah.
we're under 100 yards from it. I think you're going to have this on drone. I'll bet you there's more stuff off that way.
So maybe what the other one's pointing to?
It could be. I think that one's probably pointing at this, and that one's probably pointing at another one like this on the other side.
Possibility.
Could be.
Okay.
There's more to adventure up here, that's for sure. When we come.
I've got a rolling tape that'll go to a mile.
Do you?
So we can map these a little bit further and we can catch, especially if we find another one.
Now, if there's another one of these, then what that makes this is this, and that, and that's the size of the blip.
So I'll be curious to see, Terry, if we adventure a little higher up on these rocks.
Onto the higher points.
See if we don't find not only a visual point that looks over our geoglyph here, but maybe explains a little bit more about our geoglyph up on the rocks, whether it's a glyph or a drawing of some sort.
Yeah, correct. If we look close, like out at just southeast of us here, there's the giant glyph that's on the ground, the geoglyph that's on the ground.
Right.
And what you just explained basically is the same thing. They've got a petroglyph up on the wall, and then up behind it is miles of this giant geoglyph that's the exact same thing.
That they've already kind of depicted.
Yeah, that's the that's the Antelope Heart Mountain Refuge.
Okay.
Out of Fluke Lake.
Sure.
Which also happens to be under the lines of Cascade Pass. All right, we're right smack in the middle of the Windigo Trail. The Windigo Trail, it starts on the Windigo Pass just south of us, and it goes all the way north to Mount Jefferson. This right here was a safe passageway for most of the Native Americans that were trying to stay from the white people just over the mountain in Bend. And they could do their trapping and trading and all kinds of things through here. But what they have here is the Windigo. This Windigo is a warning even to Indians. When they see this guy, they know that there's cannibals in the area and there's a possibility you're gonna get eaten. So don't be messing around in the area. You didn't want to be here in the middle of the night, but this is telling you. This is a warning. Don't be here at night. We're directly underneath the Cascadia Passage right now too. This is the line that goes from Mount Shasta in California, that direction, all the way up to Mount Adams in Washington State, that direction. And we are directly underneath that passage line, which means if you point cameras up here, you're more likely going to see craft going by. And you'd have to slow the footage down because they're going by pretty fast. Sometimes you get to see them going real slow. Sometimes you get to see them going real fast.
Hello, I'm Eric from Bend, Oregon. Yeah, I have a couple of kids and wife. We've been here, originally we were here in Central Oregon since 2015. I've had several experiences over the years. They don't ever feel like they're connected because they span a lot of time and a lot of distance, but the more I realize it, there's more going on there. The first time I ever experienced any kind of like UFO or whatever you want to call it, I simply ended up with missing time. I was driving down the road, like I knew where I was headed, and then like in the blink of an eye, me and the guy that was driving the car, we were looking at each other like, what just happened? That was weird. And that's when we realized a couple hours were missing, and we were a couple hours down the road. But like our watches, our time had only been like seconds, like less than a minute. I've still never been able to explain that, but that was like my first experience where I was like, what just happened? One where I was driving back from Washington up on Highway 97, like coming back down from the border from Washington to Oregon. And there was, I don't want to call it like a block in the sky. It was lighting up the fence line. Like you could see the sheep on the fence line. And when we looked back on the pictures we had taken, you could see that that's what was lit up. But there was no sound. It just was a like large impending object, just kind of tracking alongside of us. I do believe that the mountains are energetic in some way and definitely attract attention. They attract people. They attract whatever else is going on. And so there's definitely a lot to that. You can feel it when you're in the mountains.
And I believe it's definitely something more. It's that next level of consciousness, if you will, where they are aware and become aware of a different reality, or a reality that exists side by side with our current one. And you see a lot of the same kinds of experiences happen with people that witness UFOs, people that are abducted by UFOs, extraterrestrials, people that are abducted by extraterrestrials. You have the same kind of click or shakabuku in consciousness, that swift spiritual kick to your head that will alter your perception forever.
My name's Kimberly. I live in Bend, Oregon. I've been here for about 4.5 years. Came just after the solar eclipse there in 2017, shortly after. And I was born in Wichita and then lived in Arkansas for a very, very long time. I'm not sure about my first encounter, but the most impactful maybe we should focus upon. I'd never seen anything like this and was gobsmacked. May 25th of last year, Prineville Reservoir. That's also a place pretty well known for a lot of folks that traveled here for the eclipse. Were there. And I always heard there was a lot of activity. I just decided I wanted to go somewhere one evening, and me and a friend that I had just met, decided to go check out Prineville Reservoir, knowing the area well and everything. And I was like, I've never been there, let's go. And I'd heard about activity. While we were there, I kind of mentioned to him, because we had just met, don't mind the things I say for comedic effect. But then this huge ship appeared. It was filmed that night it was there for hours and hours by many people throughout Oregon and Washington.
Birds and bugs don't put out an EMF. All right. If you're wanting to find out the difference, you have to get the filters. I have some filters that I use myself for when I take still shots, and I put filters on to see if there's any type of field around it. I put on infrared filters to see if there's any fields around it. These things also show the different heat sources of things. An EMF around a craft is almost visible to the eye sometimes. You can also watch the magnetic flux tubes as they bend under the craft. If you see them bending this way, that means the craft's moving this way. They bend this way, they're going that way. Straight up and down, probably going straight up. But with the filters, you can see these things move. You can see the around the craft. You can see a magnetic field around it. That magnetic field is called a magnetic flux basket, and that's how the craft is held. It's inside the basket, inside those magnetic flux tubes that are going up between the Earth and up the ionosphere. Chris Hamall in Australia. This is the guy that when I do all of my filming, this is the guy he's my go-to for having my film filtered, having him slow the stuff down even more than I did when I set my settings. He slows it down even more, and then he shows how craft are coming in from out of the sky.
My name's Chris Hamall. I live in Australia, in New South Wales, Newcastle. My expertise in the field is I'm a skywatcher. These days they call it a ufologist. I also do analysis of UAPs and footage from all around the world. And I've also had my own personal experience in sightings over the last few years. I'm a father of 2 beautiful children and a husband to a beautiful wife. I am a business owner. I'm also an accomplished musician, Australian award-winning musician. When myself and my wife experienced seeing something really unusual in the skies, I guess all the things that run through your mind, is it a plane, are there helicopters, what could it be? But I guess in life you sort of know what a helicopter and a plane is, but when you see the lights, up to 15 lights in the sky, flashing and doing all sorts of weird stuff, it sort of gives you a very euphoric feeling of something unusual is going on. You always couldn't believe what you were seeing. When it comes to analysing footage, I use different filter software to help enhance the footage to see things like electromagnetic field. Also, obviously you do your contrasts and things like that, so you can bring out things that you visually can't see with your eyes. This does help and assist in the process of analysing footage. Other equipment I use for analysis, for cross-referencing for my own sightings, I use satellite trackers, I use flight navigation trackers, just to make sure, I guess, to eliminate that it's not a plane or a satellite. But when it comes to analysing footage from other people from around the world, I use lots of different filtering equipment, which is very similar to infrared and stuff like that, which assists in the process.
My name is Valentino Gallegos. I'm over here on the Gila Reservation, just south of Phoenix. I'm 33 years old. I'm gonna be 33, I'm 32. I've been filming for about 4 years now. I've filmed all over the valley, from Kingman to Tucson, almost all the way south to Douglas. I've literally caught UFOs everywhere. I've always been interested ever since I was a kid. Just watching, shows and stuff about them. Then I have my own sightings and stuff like that every now and then. And then I was, like I said, I was on the road a lot for work, so I'm sitting passenger almost half the time, doing nothing to do for hours at a time. So I start, recording out the window. And next thing you know, I started just catching a lot of stuff and researching the areas that were hotspots, and I just started picking up on where active areas were at, When I first seen my first sighting, I actually seen a whole fleet of them. It was me, my mom, my mother, my grandmother, my uncle, and my nephew. All seen a fleet of them. Well, when I first seen them, I seen one flying near an airplane. I went inside, grabbed my mom. I was like, I need you to come check this out real quick. You know what I'm saying? It looks, I don't know what it is. When I went out there and showed her, there was more of them. We walked to the side of the house and we just seen a whole, at least, I could say at least 100 of them in the sky, and we all seen them, and they were there for a good hour, almost hour, just doing different maneuvers, everything. Some were just being still, some were just going sideways. It was triangle formations, everything. It was crazy. It took a little while. It took a little while to really like, all right, I'm starting to really catch them all, or seeing a lot of activity. And I don't know, it's almost like I was just drawn to them, or like they wanted me to see them, or they're just always like, whenever I paid attention or like got the feeling just to look up, I always seen something in the sky. I use a couple different ones. The only thing I ever do is just bring it out, try to bring it out more as I filter it to where people are able to see it, and just to slow it down so people are able to catch it. Because a lot of the times they're very, very fast, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not gonna see it at all. And I had a lot of people come and tell me like, oh, I didn't catch it, I didn't see it, or what are you talking about? But then that's why I always try to show the slow motion video first, or screenshots of what I caught, then show the video. Then I'll show the original video, the original speed, then see if they're able to catch it. Phoenix in Arizona is literally almost in the top 5, every time. And I see it every year. A city is up there within top 5 or number 1. And I know it would be a lot more if I reported my stuff too, so I know it would be a lot better. Not too far from here, where we're at right here, just on the other side of the mountain, there's a place called Stardust Ranch, where a good friend named John Edmond, he passed away, where he got a lot of activity where he was being visited by small graves. My experiences is different than everybody else's. There's other people that do have dreams, there's other people that get abducted, or just some of it's bad when they do get abducted. I talked to other people that told me their stories and their experiences, but I think everyone is just different when they have, or when they communicate or contact with them and stuff like that. Mine's just different.
My name is Elizabeth Jeffries, and I live in Pecos, New Mexico. I did see one event early on when I first moved into the home in 2006. The only reason I remember it because it was right before my anniversary. And I found it strange. Well, I was asleep and my dog was barking out of control. It woke me up. I was startled. And I went to the front window to see what was going on, and I wasn't sure what was happening. I thought there were kids that were playing out there, maybe in a vehicle, driving around on the grass. I just wasn't sure what was happening. So it was cool outside. It's still cool in April. And I opened the door, And I noticed that all the other dogs in the area were also barking. So at that point, I thought, well, what the heck's going on? So I went outside and I couldn't figure out why all the dogs were barking. Well, this light that I had been watching for a couple of minutes started getting closer and closer. But what I noticed was that it was a huge beam of light, and I couldn't tell where the light was coming from. At first, I thought there must be a police officer, maybe they have helicopters, but there was no noise. I looked up at the sky, it was dark. I didn't even see the stars that night, and I couldn't understand what the problem was or why the dogs were so out of control. I didn't hear a fire department or engines or anything like that. So they just kept barking and barking, and I thought, I don't know what's happening here, but something weird is happening. So as I started to look at the lot, I noticed that the beams of light were coming in and they were bouncing. So it was oval in shape, and I couldn't tell how big it was until it got close enough. Well, at that point, I got kind of excited because I thought, if it's not a helicopter, then what is it? As I saw the lights from the window, the lights in this field were, at the time, was completely vacant. It was a vacant lot, so there was no development whatsoever. So as I started to walk across the road, I was barefooted, mind you. So I noticed that the lights they were oval, and it looked like it was coming straight down off the ground. So as I was looking up at the sky, I thought it was a helicopter at first. And I thought for sure that maybe someone's being chased, but there was nothing there. There was no sound. And it was pitch dark. That was another thing that I couldn't understand. Because typically the stars are very bright. They look great out here, and I couldn't see anything. But the dogs were going insane. They were still howling, and I kept looking up at the sky. So I decided to start walking. And I walked all the way across over here. And as the lights were bouncing all the way, I don't know, it was almost like they were searching for something, and I didn't know what they were searching for. You could see every blade of grass. It was very, very bright. So as it got closer, and I noticed that it was right here, and it must have been, I think the light was probably hitting right here. So I saw it, and I stood right here, and I thought, do I want to walk into the light? Probably not. I wasn't sure. I got a little worried about that, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen because of the idea of, what am I looking at? There's no noise. I don't see a craft. Is it a UFO? Is it all in my head? Or why am I the only one seeing this? There was nobody else outside. I was by myself. And I was hoping my husband was going to come outside and actually see what was happening, but he never came out the door. It was just me. So needless to say, as the lights would go, they would bounce on, off, until it got to the edge of that other home on the end there. Then it finally just stopped, and then it went away. So it was a little unnerving, needless to say the least. And I finally decided to call MUFON, not call them, but actually wrote a email, let them know about the event, because I wasn't sure if anybody else had reported it.
Most often, I have come across people that their lives are changed from that point. If their mind is ready, as Terry's was, and they see that image, it's communicated directly, passed directly to their consciousness. It doesn't go through what they learned in school or what they saw on television. It really goes back to, the source that we're all connected to through our consciousness.
I've been working, I started working in ufology in 2019. After I had seen and witnessed my CE3, I decided I needed to learn more about this. I spent a lot of time trying to understand what I had seen in the sky. This thing was very close to me, and I had to figure out how that worked. So immediately I started listening to Dr. Leonardo Susskind. He's the lead string theory physicist in the world. He's also the director of Stanford University's physics department. He gives 2.5-hour lectures for free on the internet. All you got to do is have 2.5 hours. Well, if you take that science and you mix it to the science that we're seeing these craft perform, it's the same thing. We do have this technology in the form of like CERN, where we send off hydron particles different directions. We're using hydrogen to encase them so they'll move at this speed. And when you look up and you see a jet that's got the hydrogen cone around it, these guys are starting to break into something. Okay, they're not actually there, but they're starting to break into it. They're like the craft will be a complete white ball. You'll see a complete white ball moving, and that means it's moving at a speed that is cutting through the vapor in our air, and it's cutting through that hydrogen and creating and encasing it inside of a ball of hydrogen. And now you're seeing this thing move across like lightning, or you'll see it slow down, and all of a sudden it'll look like a yellow or orange ball going fast because it's moving at a slower speed. But when they're moving at full speed, the tic-tac craft that the Navy's chasing, those tend to have the cones on them. Was 100% correct when he was talking about ununatanium-115. Looking this stuff up, anybody can find the information. Looking this stuff up, you find out when you bombard this material, 115, to radiation, which he says is a amplifier. Well, when he says amplifier, what pops into my mind is magnetron, just like in your microwave oven. That magnetron is a nuclear, and what it's doing is it's taking the molecules in your food and it's vibrating them at frequencies of microwave frequencies, and it's turning the things inside hot out. So what it does is it disrupts the molecules, and that's how everybody has a nuclear device in their home by now, just in the form of a microwave oven. Magnetic flux tubes that are going down are acting as wave guidelines. And what they're doing is they're shooting D1 sharp, the sound D1 sharp. It's kind of a low that you can get when you can hear this from the craft. Everybody says they're silent. A lot of people hear the hum. Okay, this hum, what it is they're slowing down the intervals of it when they want to slow the craft down. When they want to speed up, they turn up those intervals and the craft can move right at relativity. One of the key factors at this location, a hole in the ground, is you're off in the distance, you see Paulina Peak. Right up at that top there is where we were earlier today, where you could see the Cascadia Guide. Well, this is one of the locations that they're guiding them to. This is another landmark on the ground that you can see from a long ways up. This hole in the ground is 1 mile across. You see Paulina Peak off in the distance right there. And those craft, I have photos of craft going from that location directly over. I have 2 of them.
Oh, I got a nucleus and everything on this. I am stoked, man. It's got a nucleus. Every once in a while, I get flickering just past it. This is cool shit. Man, what a good spot. What a good spot.
What happens here is you've got this whole thing had water on top of it. There was a big volcano underneath. And what happened was the heat superheated the water and it collapsed right into the ground. I would like to come out here with some equipment to check the magnetism levels as well as the radiation levels in this site, because down inside of this, I believe craft are going in. I believe they're going into the center of this and into the earth. And I believe that they're also doing it over by Fort Rock as well as up at Paulina Peak.
Other petroglyphs, very old, just a stone's throw away actually from Paulina Peak, from the guides, is near Long Lake. And those before Winnemucca Lake was dated, those were actually the oldest ones believed to be in North America, just a stone's throw from the peak. And those were dated to be about 6,000 to 7,000 years old. So it varies a lot. What's even more interesting, though, if you start to look at it globally, there are cave paintings that go back, have been dated because of the pigments used and the preservation of the material. They go back anywhere 30 to 40,000 years. So there's definitely a shift that has to happen in how we think of time. We think of time as what we learned in the 6th grade textbook, but that's not time at all. And so when you talk about and think about time in terms of petroglyphs, and you bring in the extraterrestrial visitation, you really have to take the whole picture into account, because there's a very good likelihood that there was a very advanced civilization on this planet that was ended by this event, by the Younger Dryas impact event that happened 15,000 years ago. And they preserved it as best they could by burying the story, right? And it's wonderful they did it in rock, just like the ancient Egyptians did, because had we found a compact disc or somebody's iPod from that time, it wouldn't have meant very much to us. But again, they're speaking in symbology and language that speaks to consciousness. And so they were aware enough that that was the only way they were going to be able to communicate that message.
When the craft came over the top, the one craft flipped up on end. It lit up directly over the top of what looks like two back-to-back aliens. They look like large grays. Me and my team were up in the mountains researching on this. We did measurements. We took measurements of the entire thing. The volcanoes are the big key to these UFOs. That's why I got so involved into the geology of it. I wanted to learn more about the volcanoes around me that they're hiding in.
My name is Donald Ledesma, owner and host of Alien Strand podcast. I've been doing podcasting now for about 4 years on UFOs, alien abductions, UFO encounters, and everything of the unknown. I came across Terry's story about 3 years ago when he showed me a find on top of Paulina Peak of something that looks like two aliens that are back to back. Very strange rock formation. And then he sent me photos of UFO crafts that he was catching in the general area. We started putting two and two together and figured out that mountains, geological aspect there in Oregon, all in the western side of the United States, have a lot to do with UFO encounters. So now at this point, we've gotten footage from Jodi Gordon, Anibal Caballero, Hamall, Valentino Gallegos, Shana Gilmer. A lot of these folks have caught these crafts in the sky and way above these areas of mountain peaks. We feel that mountain peaks, UFOs, petroglyphs, geoglyphs, all connect together as one. Why they're connected together. But until now, it's up to us to figure out as ufologists what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it. And I believe we're in the right track.
I think they're gonna start realizing that, maybe there is something to this alien deal. I mean, and they always talk about different kinds of aliens and that there's different forms and why not believe it? I think that, anybody who's looking at a documentary is gonna say, wow, there's people out there that have seen these things or that have observed it or have really kind of put two and two together that maybe we're not the only ones here.
So when watching documentaries, one of the biggest things is hearing other people's stories. So people are more comfortable to share theirs. Because I think a lot more people have these experiences than we necessarily hear. So it is a big thing to talk to one another, to be comfortable talking about it. And anytime you're searching for the truth, I think it's going to come out one way or another.
I am surprised as far as people feeling that it's accepted to openly discuss truth overall.
The consciousness we see and interact with today versus the consciousness that really exists that we are shielded from because of our awareness. And I think the very same thing applies to extraterrestrial visitation. They are the same kick to our consciousness, that kick that changes our perception forever.
I want people to see that to work up to see the good in them, the good and the bad word that come out of it, but mostly the good. Once we gotta all raise our level of consciousness first before we're able to make contact with them or they're making contact with us.
We put the compass on. We wanted to make sure that definitely he was facing to the north, making sure that she was facing to the south. We got a pretty good reading on how large everything was. We've got some pictures now for size. We had my team get a picture up at the top of it so you could actually see how big this was. From the bottom of the guides, the Cascadia Guides, this little V, this craft, two of them, one of them turns up on end like this, and it lights up, signifying that we are here at the Cascadia Guides. Yes, I do feel like I'm connected with them. I am what they call a CE3. I've had eye contact with a gray, large gray.
Holy crap.
I believe it was 5 separate craft.
That's some straight UFO shit right there.
That's when I started seeing all of the lights and the contact that I've been witnessing.